destructive trends in society start with the elite and they trickle down. I mean, you could look at fashionable, social drinking or fashionable drug use. These things, the damage they do in the elite is relatively limited. But as they trickle down to the poor and uneducated, they do much more damage. Sex is another one, of course. Recreational sex is another one. The mass proliferation of single-parent homes. And I argue that some of these fashionable left-wing beliefs are similar to that. Socialism, for example. Affluent countries can indulge in socialism to a point because they're wealthy. When countries in Africa or Latin America engage in socialism, it often means mass impoverishment and even violence. Setting a good example is more than a cliche. It's something, it is a matter of leadership. And men especially, I think, need to be conscious that what they do, the world is watching in some ways. And, what they do does have an impact, sometimes a very destructive one.
The world certainly is watching. And we're at the point now where not only single-sex schooling is threatened, but also single-sex toilets. Such basic things are now being threatened. Then hopefully we'll see a return back to sense before long.
Yeah, I would like to hope that. It's not clear. Again, the sexual radicals are they're very Bolshevik in the kind of limited sense of that word, in the sense that their methods are pushy, obstructive and ruthless sometimes, and too many people are perhaps too many men are frightened to stand up to them. And I think the numbers, if all the men in our society were to stand up to the sexual radicals, they would be defeated easily. If all the men who've been through the injustices of the divorce courts were to stand up and vocally organize, they would have huge political power. They would have huge power to take back their rightful place. Not only to get access and custody of their children, and put an end to this divorce racket, but to get a larger moral authority in the society. So they've got to find a way to do it. It's the potential, the power is there, and the moral authority is there, and they've just got to it's got to be. We've got to put aside the bread and circuses, and take command of what's really important.
Varlam Shalamov, the Russian short story writer, said that the most important thing he had learned from his time in the Gulag system was that the world can be divided not into the good and the evil, but into the cowards and the non-cowards. And cowardice might feel like it's the safe option in the short term, but it's not going to lead to a happy ever after, as even the informants in the Soviet system found out when they also ended up dead. So I think that is an important idea to return to, courage being the main thing that is required of people today.
Yeah, that's right. And that's something that, that's often very elusive, but I think you're right. We have that's the next book I might write is the general emasculation of our society. And it's very widespread, and it's not limited to, when I say the emasculation or the feminization of society, it's not limited to women. It's not one sex even. It's a general malaise that pervades our society, including men, and it's we need to be conscious of it.
Aquinas defines effeminacy as the disordered attachment to pleasure, and there's probably a link there with the attachment to sex, but also other forms of pleasure. You mentioned the bread and the circuses, technology, clothes, consumer goods, whatever it might be, valuing those more highly than what we should really be valuing is probably taking us in a very worrying direction.
Absolutely.
Well, I hope you do write that book, but in the meantime, we have this excellent one for people to reflect on, and I would encourage everybody to purchase a copy and enjoy it. Thank you very much, Dr. Baskerville. Very insightful.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.